Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack on Productions. Today I, Bancroft, will be joined by, I guess you could say, my family. It is Jake, Jimmy, Austin, and like always, Fluff.
Hey y'all. So who's the mother of this family?
I would say me. It's okay.
You?
Yeah.
I don't know who I'd be.
But you're like the weird uncle.
Hell yeah, I'll take that.
Like you show up and it's like you're always the guy that like slips like a little beer to like the youngest. Like you're that guy.
I don't even want to know but hi people.
But today we got a duel between. It's actually a rematch from our locals this past weekend. It is Jake playing the Broly Swamp versus Jimmy's Glizzy Gladiators, right?
Yeah, Glizzy Gladiator, aka Eric Harris. Any of the above weird trench coat names.
So
that one dude from Cyberpunk, which nobody knows because nobody can play the game right now.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Let's
all of the above.
on PC.
Yeah, unless you're on PC, then you're having a gay old time. I'm having a great time with the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like always, click those buttons, smash those bells or whatever it is you want to say, likes, and let's go with the duel.
So on my first turn, me and Jake were like shit talking before this, and I picked up my hand, and I think I said to Jake, I was like, "Yeah, I lost." Because
wait, you pulled the Bancroft?
Usually on turn one, was that?
You immediately say you lost at the beginning of the duel?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, I'm not playing Go Tank, so I actually have like a merit to say I lost at the beginning of the game.
That's fair.
So I didn't hit a green energy on turn one. I was trying to open to put a Unison on field, and I had Bio Broly and Frieza in hand, and those were the only two mono green cards in my hand. And that really hurt because usually I want to be able to hit his swap targets very early on. In particular, that 3-drop. That's what I really, really want to hit with the Frieza, just to slow down the chain a turn so I have time to get my Piccolos out or start my Skilla spam.
Yeah, and
so unfortunately,
awakens too.
Yeah, so unfortunately I had to charge my mono red energy, which sucked because Tau is a very good card in this deck. But I ended up going down a different path to deal some damage early on. And I think that was a very standard turn for Broly early on, right, Jake?
Yeah, pretty standard stuff. Usually in this matchup with the tournament pack Broly in my opening hand, I would try to get Violet Rays, but as you can see, it was in my life and not in my deck. So I just grabbed the Vampa with the intention of charging or discarding it later.
That's fair. So I did burn that super combo very early on just to give an alliance target for Piccolo, which is not a bad idea. Being able to burn a super combo for a draw 2 plus a burn is well worth it, at least in my opinion.
And I let you put me to 4 here, so I didn't have to do too much self-awakening on my own. And in retrospect, I probably should have blocked the double strike attack and went to 5, and then maybe had more options to play with my life on my turn.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like a lot of Red Broly players, they either want to conserve their life to spin on putting their 1-drops out or their various like sparking negates or something like that. Or they want to burn their life quickly to awaken so that they have the auto that puts the 4-drop out early for decks against that have a lot of removal. So I didn't really know what was going on when you went down to 4, so that kind of scared me. Like I felt like you had something else going on that I was not ready for.
Yeah, I really don't know exactly why I didn't block there, but maybe I was just hoping to have an easier time awakening this turn. This matchup is such a mental grind for Red Broly, even though it looks like I'm in a good position right now. Because once Hit gets awakened, he can literally remove any piece of your chain that's threatening to his life total. And unless you have 2 chains working simultaneously or some other avenue of pressure, you have a really difficult time getting there.
It's definitely an uphill battle. I mean, I know if you can resolve into the secret rare, he can't hit that because it has barrier, if I'm correct.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But you have to get there.
Yeah, and you would have to go from presumably 4 to secret rare without having a battle phase at all.
Yeah.
Or while hit is still on his front side.
Yeah, which is a lot harder than you would think it would be. Because I do have Self Awakeners in the deck, so if you decide to just, set on that and then go directly into the secret rare, I'm just going to awaken myself and put myself at 4 life when you want to go up that chain. And then you run the risk of not dealing enough damage fast enough that I get to the point where I can just put 8 or 9 attacks in one turn.
Exactly. And without, unfortunately, with all the mail troubles, my second copy of Violet Rays hasn't come in. And with my only Violet Rays in the drop area, I cannot survive the skillless spam if you enter that phase of the game.
Yeah. And we've discussed this matchup a lot, and I know you've played this matchup a lot on Untap. I believe you said that you went on Untap and named the lobby Hit Pod Only, please.
Yeah. I literally named the Untap. There was no please. It was just Hit Pod Only. And a player was nice enough to grind out, actually a streamer, I forget their name at the moment, actually was nice enough to grind out about 3 or 4 games with me, and then afterwards we talked about the matchup, and I've talked to other Broly players in the community, and the consensus seems to be is that Hitpod is the hardest matchup for Red Broly in currently played decks.
Yeah, and I think it just comes down to the fundamentals of Hitpod is just a very weird paced deck in that it's very tall early on, which Broly isn't really geared towards a tall deck. And then the late game Broly wants to expend a lot of its energy, either going wide or putting yourself into the 6-drop into the secret rare. So it tends to, you tend to not have enough energy towards the end of the game to be able to deal with a storm-like deck.
Especially without defensive tools, blockers laying around, which you can remove, and things like that.
Which are you mainboarding topos? I can't remember in your.
No, not at all.
I think topo would be a really good option for you against Hitpod.
I tested it early on, and it seemed like I never had enough energy. But I think if Hitpod's going to stay in the meta, I think it kind of forces Red Broly to go slower, and maybe Topo comes in.
I feel like Topo is a better sideboard option in Red Broly. I've always went under the mentality of you shouldn't mainboard for your worst matchup because that's going to bring down your other matchups that are already good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
Broly has such a good matchup against so many decks. It's a very, very oppressive deck. At everything except for Hitpod, and then putting in Topo may clog up the deck a little bit and make those other matchups worse.
Well, I think that's what makes this particular meta so difficult is that it's not a best of 3 meta. It is a best of 1.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I think there's a lot of decks that would really, really shine in a best of 3 matchup.
Yes.
I feel like Sin Shinron would be a monster if this was best of 3 right now.
Sin Shenron and Gotenks, if I do dare say so, would probably be A1 and A2 in either order if it was best of 3 at locals right now.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. We've all had long discussions about like hand destruction in the game and where it stands in the meta, and I really, really feel like in the best of 1, it's kind of nuts. In the best of 3, not so much. Like, just in this matchup alone, when you were like making me pitch 1 card from Broly, it still felt real bad to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a weird thing to balance in a game like this where the hand is so important and integral to the match.
I think green for me as a player is probably one of the hardest colors to play against.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can usually figure out blue, I can usually figure out black, red, yellow, but like green is just one of those like there are just a few decks in green where it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
No, I definitely agree with that. Like,
Yeah,
because it's really hard to play against, especially hand control, to plan against it. Plan ahead for it. Because there's a lot of stuff you can plan ahead for, but if it's just the best of one, it's kind of like it's really hard to prepare for that.
So, real quick, got a question. And this is from watching an outside perspective. You didn't grab Pan, which is unfortunate. Do you take her out of your deck?
She is in the life.
She's in the life, okay. And the second question is, why didn't you swing the Unison first at his Unison?
There's a lot of things that I didn't do correctly with that Unison. I also have the Piccolo Junior in hand that
Free
plays
plays.
for free if you have 3 markers, and I forgot to play that as well.
ouch.
Like I said earlier, I think I'm thinking way too hard in this matchup, and maybe if I played it more standard, like I would play a normal matchup, things would come out differently. Maybe what's going on with me here is kind of information overload, where I've played this matchup so much, I know, and I've had so little success. Like, I know how a lot of things can go bad for me, and I'm not really thinking about how things can go good.
Gotcha. This is something I noticed when I edited it. So.
Do you want to talk about the Burst Attack Gohan? Because yeah, I feel like that's a card that was a meta staple for so long and then kind of just fell out of favor.
Yeah.
And seeing it again was like, I was really hyped seeing that card actually hit the field in this matchup.
Yeah, that brings it back.
Yeah.
Well, there was a post in the Facebook group a few months ago, and people were talking about different cards to try off of the Piccolo Junior. And each week I've been cycling one card in my deck. Last week it was Dark Duo Bobbity. That really didn't do too much for me, even though I won the event. The card just never really came up. And I thought about Burst Attack because he's crit, so he enables the Bardocks that are in the list, and there's a lot of crit in the deck already. If you could play him and Pan, he's a 20k double strike crit, which is nice. And like, if you remember last week, my game with Fluff, at the end of the game, Red Broly's hand size can get very low. So being able to draw 2 cards off Burst Attack in a tight situation might change everything.
I was really hyped to see that. Like, I thought that was a really dope pick. Have you thought about the Kefla that has dual attack? If you have 4 less cards in hand?
No, I'm not familiar with that card at all, actually.
Yeah, I'll bring in one next time we play. I feel like that could have been really dope in this list.
I might try that instead of Burst Attack. Although I have been considering upping Fearless Pan to 2 and just getting Fearless Pan and Ba, or Fearless Pan and a 3-drop, or something more standard if I was going to play at a more serious event.
I really like the Fearless Pan in this list. Like, it just feels really good to hit that. And like, I was completely against that Unison for the longest time. And then you were like, nah, dude, check it. I just whipped your ass with it. And like, I was like, okay, it's good. I stand corrected. And like, it was just one of those identifying moments for me.
If I remember correctly, you were spectating a game, you had the buy, and you were watching me play, and you saw that Unison go off, and after the game, you were like, I was completely wrong about that. I didn't think about Fearless Pan at all.
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt, but that Kefla wouldn't work. She's a 4-drop.
Okay.
I forgot. I was thinking it's still a 3-drop because it has a very similar effect.
I was thinking she was bigger.
Yeah, she's actually a 20k double striker for 4 energy that restands if you have 4 or less cards in hand, which is not that great, but it could be really dope if you can play it for free.
Yeah, but unfortunately, she's twice too big for Piccolo Jr.
Yeah, sad day.
Or King Piccolo, or whichever one it is.
She was-
Don't kill me.
She was really relevant last during Veku Ramp, right?
I played her a lot back in SS3 days. I loved her in SS3.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the last time was Veku Ramp.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
She showed up in a couple Shenron Veggies lists as well. Now
Did
that
she?
I'm remembering the card.
Yeah. Desperate Onslaught, I think, is the name of the card. Yeah.
Set 4?
Yeah, I think was it a promo for set 4?
I hear it's an SR.
No, it wasn't an SR. It got an event pack foil. I'll look it up real quick.
Keep discussing. I'll look.
Okay.
So here it looks like Jimmy's pushing to try and keep from taking too much damage.
Yeah, I knew you had 4 energy. I know that the secret rare was possible at this point. I didn't want to put my life total under 3. Just because, I didn't want to get sniped by the secret rare.
Yeah.
Because if I remember correctly, I had 2 negates in hand, but I didn't want to burn those early on, so I was trying to just combo out cards that I had.
Or just get them straight ripped when I go up the chain.
Yeah, exactly.
She was a dash pack.
Dash pack, yeah. Thought so.
I was thinking, and apologies, I was thinking of Sand Onslaught, which was the
Sand
5-drop
Onslaught,
out of
yeah.
set 4.
God, I love that card too.
Yeah.
Such a dope card. It did kind of suck having to burn that super combo again because I just wanted to have it as an alliance target next turn. But being able to double super combo, basically get to run 8 super combos in a list is pretty dope. And if I remember correctly, you don't go into the 5-drop this turn. I think you go for a more wide strategy, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Which I think was 100% the best option because I was just going to pop the 5-drop with hit because it has critical, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And my hand was dwindling at this point, and you were just going to be able to warp more cards going up the chain. That I feel like this was the best bet you had.
Yeah, knowing what's in my hand here and knowing that I don't have access to the secret rare, it really changes the way I play out this turn and forces me to go for the go wide strat, even though you've got a Demikra with 3 markers. I think looking back on this game, enough things went wrong for you early in the game that I probably could have won had I been more focused and made less play mistakes. I think one thing I do as a player is that when I go into a bad matchup, I kind of I don't give up, but I get focused on playing to not lose instead of playing to win.
Dude, I did the exact same thing last night against Bancroft in the final match that we had on camera that didn't get recorded. I basically played that entire match with the ideology of I'm playing this match with the idea of not losing. And you just beat yourself by playing that way, I think.
Exactly. That's a no-win strategy. You have to play the game to win. You can't play to not lose.
And actually later on in the night, I played Bancroft against his Gotenks list. And it's probably the best I've ever performed against Gotenks. And it was because I went into it with the mentality of I'm just going to play my deck and not worry about what he's doing. And that really helped out in that matchup. And I think you actually played this match very, very well. All of my other matchups with Red Broly, it almost feels like an instant win. I just sit down, put the hit down, and they just go, okay, well, I lose anyway. This was the hardest matchup I've had with Red Broly so far. So I think this is... I think after this, too, we were talking, and you were like, yeah, I felt a lot better in this matchup than I have before.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was because I had a bad start. I think that's just because you know this matchup a lot better now than you did the first time we had it.
Oh, for sure. I barely knew what cards were in the deck the first time we played and got completely destroyed for it.
I've said it a million times, Hit is just such a hard deck to play against because it has so many strategies. And going back to that information overload, you have to worry about getting hit with tall attacks, get hit with wide attacks, easy removal for free pretty much. Basically just getting free advantage off of cards that just stick to the board, like Frieza's Army and Demikra. Bio Broly, if I put that out there.
Yeah, it has access to red as well.
Yeah. Hit's just such a good all around deck against Broly that does a very simple idea, and just putting the Piccolo out there got it.
Yeah.
You being tapped out, not having a blocker, and facing down what would it have been, a 46, if I'm adding that correctly.
Plus 30, so yeah.
Yeah. I did the math. I couldn't combo out of it, and I saved you the trouble.
Yeah, plus I had combos from hand. I really feel like this matchup was a lot closer than it was the first time we played, and I feel like if we played it again, it would be closer than this match was.
Yeah. Here I am very animatedly complaining about Hitpod.
Yeah, I love your rant at the end where you're like, it's mathematically impossible for me to win.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
I think
I said,
the video you said it's a 5% chance of winning. I think that's what you said.
yeah. When I was complaining there, I
Yeah.
think you play 100 games and Red Broly wins 5 of them with 2 pilots of the same skill level.
I don't know, man. Every time I played you, it's gotten closer and closer with Red Broly. I feel like I'm gonna hit my threshold one day. We're gonna break on through the other side.
I mean,
Maybe, but
our next locals is the last locals of the year. Are we just doing fun throwaway decks, or are we going all out?
I mean, if you're wanting me to play fucking a peel off Christmas boy, then
No,
I guess
I was gonna play it. I just trying to see if you guys had any preferred builds for it. So that's a spoiler.
I mean, everybody knows something Christmassy is coming. They're always in the Christmas cheer.
I told Bancroft what I was playing tonight, so
Oh boy,
and it's something that none of you have seen me play.
Go Tanks.
He's played Go Tanks. I've seen him play it.
oh my god.
We just walk in the shop. I have the deck in my hand. Fluff walks in. I tag Fluff and give him the deck, and walk out.
Yep.
All right, let's make our bets. Bancroft's gonna play Prison. Fluff's gonna play Prison. This is all one big fucking joke on me because every fucking person there is gonna be playing Prison except for me.
Hey, I won't be playing Prison.
No. Christmas tournament, red and green decks only.
Okay, I'm playing Hitpod.
Shit. Okay. Well, with that, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed. And like always, let's go with Jake first. Last words?
If you want to win, you have to practice. If you want to beat Hitpod, you have to play like 50 odd games, apparently.
We didn't hear much from you, so Austin,
Oh, hi and bye.
Jimmy.
Okay. If it burns when you pee, you might be awesome.
What? That is slander of the highest order.
Try that again, please.
This is slander of the highest order, and I will not tolerate that in my house.
Well, with that being said,
With that being said, for a good time, Google why do they call it the clap? Read your cards, know your plays. Like always, fluff out.